Iemotep Bikanefer. Welcome to the Kush Communist Congo people, to the member of the Kush Communist Congo movement, to the member of and student of the AKN, and the member of the Per-Ank MTUT, but also the member of the Kamit family all across the world. I'm come and say Bikanefer to you. If it happened to you to be is a morning for you, or is a early time for you, or if it's not, it's evening where you're living, then it is Metret Nefer. It is Amasuba Bakinkela of the Kush Kamit Congo movement again to you, and I'm bringing up a discussion, analyze, you know, a thinking process. You know, what I'm going to share with you today should not make us feel weak, should not make us feel less, but indeed we should use it as foundation on deciding what's going to be the future. Now, the title for today's subject is globalization and discrimination. When you look at the title, they may look like two different topics, but they are not. Because what we think is globalization, we see globalization, we have been explaining what globalization is from a point of view, but we never question what globalization from our own perspective. We have been taught globalization from other perspectives, but not our own. And discrimination also. We're going to try to look to it according to perspective, in relation to events, and try to understand what really going on. Because I go on down talking about the Agenda 30. What is about Agenda 30? We've been talking about Agenda 21, 26. Now I'm talking to you about Agenda 30. What the Agenda 30 really, and what the Agenda 30 has to do with discrimination and globalization. Here we go. This consciousness came to me while I was attempting a bank. We were supposed to open a bank account for the company. Now, when we went to the bank, they see our mate and my wife carry a British passport, what I will call here, refer here as a non-African passport, whereas I carry an African passport. At the end of the process of opening the bank account, I asked the question if it was possible for us to have also, beside the business account, personal account. So the clerk answer was sharp to me. It was like, yeah, yes, we can do that, but for you, not for you. And I was like a bit, wow, what do you mean by that? And one more time, the clerk went straight. Your wife has a non-African passport, which is a British passport. She can open a bank account. You carry African passport, you can't open a bank account. That's it. I didn't ask for a question. There was no point at that moment. And then I left. But later on my way back, I tried to analyze deeply, put the word of the clerk into context, and not just be emotional about it. Try to understand where does it come from. It came out to me like this. I tried to understand. At that moment, I questioned myself. Where does it come from? It can't just be one person's perspective. And what comes out of this reflection, this analytic introspective, is the subject or the topic of what I'm discussing with you right now, I'm presenting to you right now. This presentation was made heard yesterday in French, and I'm doing it to English to make it more valuable to people, and because who Miriam asked about it, she wanted to know what I was talking about. So, thank you for your request first of all, and then what we've been observing in these years, okay, is the process of turning into something illegal, not accepted, a certain identity. To go further on, I will explain to you where I'm coming from. In the past centuries, in our time, contemporary time, we have seen a process that took part in South America. South America were in the past predominantly a black land. Now it's not anymore, because the different governments of the South America country used to organize plain war, where the black people were forced to become soldiers or face prison. They had no choice. Or you go to war or you go to prison. So many black people joined armies, respective army according to their countries, and then they will fight each other and die. When the number of the black people decide should be dead by a certain time was reached, the war was over. As a result of this practice, I'm not talking about 18th century, I'm not talking about 19th century, I'm talking about the 21st century, or between the 20th and the 21st century. As a result of these political, legalized tactics or politics, black women didn't anymore want to marry black men, because if you marry a black man and there is a war, he's gonna die, he's gonna go and die, because this is the mission, the state mission, the government mission. And therefore you're gonna be left alone with black boys and girls to grow with no future ahead of them. So any black woman who have sons would rather choose to marry a white man or a mulatto, because it's not gonna go to war. Or even if he go to war, it's gonna be a captain, a major colonel. It's not gonna go on the front and die. And secondly, if you have mixed race children, they will represent you, and they're gonna give you a place into the society. You're gonna be accepted because you have a mixed race children. If as a black woman you have black children, the society won't accept you. And this is process, legalized process, you know, front of the UN or the legal institution that claim to define the people. You know, this has been perpetrated years after years in our time. I'm not talking about last century. I'm talking the time where I was already born, and I'm born the 7th. While all of this was happening, nobody never claimed, and nobody has never complained. African people never complain. We see broad citizens be killed, destroyed, eliminated, eradicated from the surface of the planet. So now the percentage of black people in South America is very, very low. And the one who are still there have no right, quite no right. No right to move, no right to do whatever. Okay? I remember one time passing 2000, maybe 6, me and my Italian friend, because I was still living in Italy, made a trip to Brazil, and we're traveling on the road where the police come after us. They come after us, they wanted me to come down because the car was going in a city where black people were not allowed. So they thought that I was a local black man. So they had to stop the car to take me down. So when I see that I was not from Brazil, I come from the state, then they leave me go. You see what I mean? I'm still in the process of thinking, you know. Just follow me for a bit. Now I try to see why this is happening. What is happening actually? What is happening is just like that. I'm gonna put it down straight away so we can analyze after that. When you from a African or black background, because I'm talking about two things, two entities. When you are from African, first entity, second entity, black background, there are two situations where you are legal, you are accepted as a world citizen. The first one is that if you have a black skin, you need to have black passport. You need to have a Occidental, non-African passport. When you go to the African as black color skin people, the only one who are free to travel across the world, the only one who have rights are those one with non-African passport, I mean European passport for most of them. If you have a black skin and you have a non-African or an Occidental passport, you got rights. The other one, the option is that, now, I talk first of the people with African skin, the black skin. Now I'm talking about the African background. Now, when you have African background, it doesn't mean you have a black skin, not at all today anymore, okay? If you have a white skin, a clear skin, then you can have an African passport, that's okay. Those are the two categories of African or African origin or African background people accepted who have rights. The other one don't have rights. If you are a African, if you have black African background and African roots, in the sense what I'm trying to say is that if you have an African skin, black skin, and you have an African passport, you are illegal in this world. You are clandestine in this world. You don't have no place. As a result, wherever you go, starting from your country, you're not accepted. You have to work hard to get what everyone else have already for granted. You got no right. Starting from the African country themselves, you are not in a country. You are in a conclave, colonial enclave or enclosed. You can move. You have no right to move from one African country to another African country. You have to bring so many proofs that you can't bring. You have to provide so much document that obviously you won't be able to for most of the population. So you're a prisoner into a place you call your country. It's not your country, it's your prison. The only way for you to get away from that prison are two. Get yourself a white skin, then you understand why you have the culture of bleaching the skin. Getting closer to a white skin, so you might be perceived as someone who you are going to follow. If you bleach your skin, you change your social perception from the outer world. You're going to be perceived as someone who has a African passport, but a white skin, a light skin. So you end up into the first category that I put down, you know, African background. You're gonna end up into the category of African background. You have African passport, not African skin. That you have the culture of bleaching, you know. For many times, the belief was that people were bleaching to kind of reject their origin, to reject who they are. But from my last introspective, it comes clear to me people have to bleach the skin to have a place in the world. The other one is that if you have a black skin, that's okay only if you carry a non-African passport. As to say, if you can see what's happening today, the only black people, I mean black skin, you know, black brutes, who have right to move whatever they want to move, they only want to have right to go whatever they want to go and to do, and I will go even further on. The only one who have rights are those one with a non-African passport, a European passport, American passport. As a matter of fact, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, the Black lives that matter are not really all the black people matter. When they say black man life matter, they're talking about those ones with privilege, black with privilege. And the black with privilege are those ones with European passport. Because while we still partying, protesting about the life of George Floyd and many others, thousands of people have been killed in Africa, nobody ever protests. Nada. Nobody got the street. Where we have proof of practice of slavery on the fellow black people in some countries in North Africa, nobody went down the street. Nobody went down the street. Did you see that? When fellow black people were dying in Lampedusa in Italy, treated like animals in Italy, have you ever seen Black Lives Matter going on the ground? No. Because they don't matter just at all. Why they don't matter? They are black people with that privilege. The black people with that privilege are illegal in this world. It's not yet called this way. Man, hang on a bet. It's gonna be called just the way I'm saying it in no time. I can assure you that and mark my word on this. If nothing is done, if awareness is not uplifted, a category of black people will be recognized as illegal everywhere they go. Because this destination, this is what is happening. And then when I come to the realization of this truth, and I question myself about the how and why. Yeah, well, it's going to be too easy to give the responsibility on others. That's what we usually do. This time around, I try to see from our own perspective what we do, what we didn't do, what we did, what make us in this position. Well, when I try to study geopolitics of the world, every country in the world always tried to defend themselves and protest whenever bad thing has happened to them. You know, I'll give an example. Lastly, was happening with India. You know, India been bullied around the world because of the COVID situation. Okay. And India have stated that they will be treating people coming from different countries according to the way the Indian people are treated in those countries. If in your country, Indian people are well treated, you go and be well treated as well. If in your country, Indian people are not well treated, they are not going to treat you well as well. What I'm trying to say is, or what am I going with this, is that the story of African in the continent, I'm talking about the background African, is that everyone can abuse us as they want and we do nothing about it, we don't protest. We have still 60 president, more than 20, 30 African presidents that's been assassinated by European authority. There's never been no protest about it. There's not been no request of justice about it. African people are treated very bad when they live abroad in European country. We don't complain about it. We don't say nothing about it. We have seen what happened with Lampedusa. We don't complain about it. I remember that we've been receiving in Africa food for animals, sending for us in time of crisis. We don't complain. Everyone has the cessation. Everyone has the acknowledgement that we can't be just treated like anything. And we don't do nothing about it. We don't protest. We just take what any other people in the world are respected because they have the way to respond. This is the way that you respect, because you respond, because you say no. We say no, we say yes to everything. And therefore we lose value. We don't program our own future. We don't have impact in time. We accept, we agree on living like animal eat a farm. Well now, the animal in the farm have guaranteed the food. But not really, because tomorrow the owner will decide to put you on the fire. You never know. You have guaranteed that you will definitely eat if you don't die. If you don't get slaughtered, you gotta get food. But the guarantee of life you don't have when you don't take your own destiny at the end. When you don't step up to decide what about yourself. India are backed by India. They have organizations that support community. They stand by each one. Anything that got coming from, have all India coming back at the back. So it's for all the other people in the world are backing themselves. They have community that support, that defend, without. One of the last experiments on this science was Marcus Garvey, peace to his soul. He tried to build something to defend the black, to promote the black people. I got killed, he got destroyed by black people themselves. But that still is America. This America, they have the privilege, black with privilege. You know, where you black, you got in European American nationality, you are a black with privilege. When you are a black people with black passport, you're not wanted. You don't have any privilege. You have no rights at all. You go with what is given to you wherever you are. If they feed you, you got food. If they don't, you have no right to claim whatsoever. If they treat you well, it's okay. But if they decide to treat you very bad, you can't decide nothing because you got no right at all. This is the truth. And if you can open your eyes, you can see that. And there is an expansion because as in the time of South America for black people, now there is the realization in the black people that to survive in this world, to be accepted, to be granted some rights, you gotta do something about yourself as a black person, because as it is, you're not accepted. You gotta get yourself a European nationality or an American one. Oh, you gotta bleach your skin. You gotta lose African appearance at all. You gotta do something between that. And that always happening at the same time. But look at the children we have today. Most of the children who can, I said before, who can travel across the world, they can do that because they have a European passport, American one. Wherever you go, if you show your skin, then you need to bring something to show that you are a black with privilege. Because in one hand you have the black with privilege, at the other hand you have the black with no rights. What does it mean, black with no right? Black with no right means that you have no institution that back up any of your requests. You have no institution that might defend you whenever you go. How they decide to treat you, how they decide to perceive you, you have to accept it. If they decide to treat you, accept to treat you as a human being, that's why you have to accept. If they decide to treat you like an animal, like something repugnable, something that disgusting, that's why you have to accept and to align yourself with, because you have no right. But what I say no right is not mean that you can't just be killed like this because you have no right. What I mean that the no rights status mean that everyone decide about you. You have no saying on this. You can't say nothing. The way you perceive, the way you accept to be, you become that. You become that. Whereas if you are black with privilege, you have to be accepted as anyone other, because you are not just a black with privilege. To be in the same boat, quite in the same boat, because now we're in the same boat, but you to be accepted as such, to be perceived positively, you need to be a black with privilege. Now, this is the globalization, because they say one word. They say in the globalization philosophy, we gotta become all one. But in this process of becoming all one, there is a process of destruction going on. And the process of destruction is on the shoulder of the black race. You have to change the perception of yourself as identity in the two ways I given before. You get your non-African identity by passport, or you bleach yourself, okay? But bleaching here doesn't really guarantee much, you know. So by bleaching here, I mean you start a process of genetic transformation. Genetic transformation, that means you need to marry a white woman. When you marry a white woman, you perceive a little bit different, but just a bit. And then your children gonna be accepted as mixed race. They're going to be accepted as black people with privilege. You have those two ways to go on. So this is easy for all the people living in Europe or in America. This is what we're seeing, you know. Non-black girls today, you can put a lot of reasons out there. Black men that. Yeah, this is a psychological psychological argument where black people respond bad, the trauma that went through, you know. There is a lot of philosophy going around that. Since all the trauma the black people went through and still going on, there is not really institution that deal with that. There is not really institution try to have with drama, to have the repercussion of what I had. So as a result, that they have badly being man and woman. But the perception we have today is that you gotta marry out of your race to elevate yourself. Okay, that's what's going on right here. But then what about the other who can't do that? I'm talking about the one living in the black continent. What the future about you? So what should think marriage and future a 20 years old girl in Congo, in Darfur, in Kinshasa, in Lubumbashi, in Lomé, in Bamako. She got known. Evidently, she's not gonna marry a white man, and definitely she's not gonna easily marry a black man with privilege, because they want the black man with privilege feel himself as emancipated, so he's gonna mate with emancipated black men. Emancipated now as a title, you know, you emancipated because you are a black with a privilege, are emancipated black in the modern context. So what I'm trying to put on clean here, the old continent, the black continent, is condemned. But because what I'm saying is what's coming. If you doubt me, give it a few weeks, give it a few months. What I'm saying here is gonna come from thing. Everybody gonna start talking about it. What are we gonna do about it? What can we do about it? Around the world, the black community, the African community, we have many conferences organized talking about spirituality, talking about Egyptology, talking about many things, but not about the danger we're facing every day coming. Because if we don't fall back and try to find answer, to build defense, to uplift our own perception identity so that others can have a sense of respect for us, then we don't. That means that the one who have managed to transform the identity, perception for themselves or others, getting themselves to a process of genetic modification, voluntary, by out-of-race marriage, so that you can put yourself in a position that you perceive differently, so that you children are going to have full privilege as a black background because they become a backgrounder with privilege, or are the one who has been lucky enough in this context, speakingly. I'm not getting, I'm not saying it's lucky, but in the context, those one who has get themselves, who they keep the African skin but get a European passport. Out of those two categories, who are still a minority, the other diversity going to be perceived as illegal in this world. You're not supposed to be here. You gotta go. If you don't do something about it, they're gonna do something about it because you're illegal. So we have to hide our perception of this reality, because what I'm talking to you is not something in 2,000 years ago. I'm talking about something that has been going on in these years, in this destiny, and it's still going on right here. It's the process that going into that final phase is not a new thing. Are we going to let ourselves be destroyed this way? Are we going to let African identity perception be completely destroyed this way? Or are we going to do something about it? Are we in the place? Are we ready to stand and to say no, we got right as human beings, without any purpose, without any genetic modification, voluntary genetic modification? We want to be so perceived and respect as human being as the right that recognize to any human being on this planet. Are we willing to do that? or are we already ready for extinction? Unc would just say that.